G'day guys, today I'm going to show you how I make and plumb up a bog filter in a barrel. This is the same style of filter that I used in my budget goldfish pond and my budget ecosystem pond. These filters are really easy to make, easy to maintain and provide plenty of surface area for good bacteria which will keep your pond clean and clear naturally. Feel free to make modifications to this design. This is just simply how I do it. There's many alternatives. For me, a good filter needs to do three things: purify the water, capture solid materials, and be easy to maintain. I found this design provides all three, and it's cheap for you to make yourself. If you're interested in ponds and looking to create or maintain a pond without spending a fortune, please like and subscribe, as that is the aim of my channel. To create this filter, all you'll need is a good watertight container. Here I'm using half an old olive barrel. Those of you that follow my channel will know these barrels make many appearances. That's because they're cheap, strong, food safe, UV stabilized and easy to find on Marketplace, eBay, those sorts of sites. For the plumbing, I'll be using 2 T-piece fittings, 2 uni seals, some PVC pressure pipe, a couple of elbow fittings, 1 ball valve to provide an easy way to flush out the filter. The size of the plumbing fittings will be determined by the size of the pump you are using. For this quick setup, I'll be using a pump capable of delivering 1,000 litres per hour. Therefore, I'm using 25mm or 1-inch plumbing fittings. You'll probably find that you'll need other fittings to create a more aesthetically pleasing filter. I'm just quickly knocking this one up to show you guys, and this is all I'm going to need to make it functional. So for the tools, you'll need a drill and a hole saw to create holes for the uni seals. For these 25mm uni seals, I'm using a 44mm hole saw. If you live in Australia and are looking for uni seals, check out Rob from Bits Out the Back. I think he also sells in the US through Amazon. Anyway, he uses uni seals extensively in his aquaponic setups and has really good prices. His website will also tell you what size hole saw you need for the different sized uni seals. You'll also want some PVC glue, a hacksaw and some soapy water to help you lube up the pipe before inserting it into the uni seal. The thing I love about the uni seals is they allow you to create a watertight seal in rounded containers like this barrel. You could use a bulkhead fitting, but they're much better suited to flat surfaces. Anyway, the uni seals are going to provide 2 holes, one for our outflow, which is for the clean water to return to the pond. This is going to go up the top of the filter, and the other one's going down the bottom, and that's for the clean out valve. Here's a crude drawing showing what I'm talking about. The uni seals are providing that watertight seal for both the clean out and the outflow pipe. The inflow from the pump can come over the barrel as it's being pumped in. Both the outflow and the clean out are using gravity, hence the need for a watertight seal. Of course, if you wanted to make it easier to conceal the inflow piping, you could add a 3rd uni seal. I find it unnecessary, as once I add the rocks and gravel, the inflow pipe is quite hidden. When drilling the hole for the uni seal, I find if I put the drill in reverse, I get a much smoother hole. Once the holes are in, the fun begins. This is where the soapy water helps to get the pipe in, and you can cheat like me if you want and bash it in with a rubber mallet. Now that the tricky part's done, we can go ahead and add the valve to that clean out pipe. You'll notice that the clean out pipe isn't sitting right on the bottom of the barrel. I find it too difficult to drill the hole at the very base and fit the uni seal, so I've drilled it a few inches above the base. To fix this, I added an elbow fitting with a small piece of pipe attached that almost touches the bottom of the barrel. So then once I attach a hose to the clean out valve and the hose flows downhill, this creates a siphon that will completely drain the filter right down to the bottom. And as the filter drains, it'll pull all that accumulated solid matter out from the filter. The last piece of plumbing is the pipe for the inflow. These filters are upflow bogs, so the water is discharged in the bottom of the filter and then it slowly fills up. That's what allows the solid materials to settle on the bottom of the filter while the clean water rises to the top and returns to the pond. This is simply a vertical pipe with a T-piece at the bottom and a T-piece at the top. The bottom one is going to help disperse water through the base of the filter, and the one on the top allows air into the pipe, should the pump stop. The T-piece on the top is quite important as it prevents the water from draining out of the filter should the pump stop. If this was an elbow fitting, the water in the filter would siphon out of this pump input pipe back out through the pump. This is because the water level in the filter is higher than the water level in the pond. So by adding the T-fitting, air gets into the pipe and that will break the siphon should the pump stop. I also recommend you add a reducer to that air hole so that the majority of the water from the pump is directed into the bottom of the filter. Over time, as the filter starts to get clogged and is in need of a clean out, the water might try and escape out that air hole. We want to send as much water to the base of the filter and up through all the rocks and gravel as possible. So now it starts getting fun. We can add rocks and gravel to the filter. These are most important as they are going to become home to the nitrifying bacteria that will keep the pond safe for the fish and also maintain that crystal clear water we are all looking to achieve. You want to use quite large rocks on the bottom of the filter to create plenty of void areas where solid materials can accumulate. You also might like to create a false bottom with a milk crate or an old bucket with nice big holes. Anything really that can support the weight of the rock and the pebble. A false bottom is especially useful around the clean-out pipe to prevent it becoming blocked. As you add the layers of rock, you want to start big and get smaller and smaller as you get closer to the top. Here I'm using 20mm revered pebbles to finish off the top layer. I should have mentioned before filling with the rocks and pebbles, give the filter a test to make sure everything is watertight. You can get creative with how you want to dress up the filter. One thing you want to add is some plants into the filter. These are going to help remove nutrients from the water. Choose something with a shallow root system so it doesn't clog the filter and it's easy to clean out. One of my favourites is Bacopa. So that's the basics of how to make one. Now let's talk a little bit about how big it needs to be, what sort of water volume we want moving through the filter, and how to conceal it, and also how to clean it. When it comes to the size of the filter, the safe bet is to make it at least 10% of the pond size. This pond was easy as it was a more formal styled pond with a consistent depth. The pond holds 1,000 litres, so the filter was exactly the size of the one we just built. The half olive barrel holds just over 100 litres, so the perfect size. Don't think these filters are just for small ponds. These style of filters can be scaled to any size. You can get creative with the containers you use. In fact, you don't even need to use containers at all. The filters I'm building on my dream pond are using pond liner, so I could go nice and big. The design for the clean out changed a little, but the principles are all the same. Keep in mind all ponds are different and the amount of fish will play a big part in how big or small the filter can be. Obviously, more fish means you need more filtering capabilities. A good indicator is green water. If the water clarity starts to decrease over time, it's time to increase the amount of filtration or decrease the number of fish. One of the reasons bog filters work so well is because they are replicating what nature has been doing for eons. Wetlands and bogs have always been water's natural purifiers. And one of the things that helps them purify the water is that the water moves through them slowly. This allows solid waste and nutrient-rich sediments to settle inside the bog or wetland. Here it can be consumed by plants, small organisms, and assortment of bacteria. So when we create these man-made filters, we should also be looking to move the water slowly through them. I've found that if it takes the water 5 to 15 minutes to pass through the filter, that has worked great. A good way to be able to regulate the flow is adding a valve to the T-piece that prevents the siphon if the pump is turned off. Alternatively, we can size the pump according to the filter we wish to create. I like to use this pond as an example because I know it holds exactly 1,000 litres, so it makes the maths easy. So let's say the pump moves 600 litres per hour, so 100 litres every 10 minutes. So that's within my 5 to 15 minute guideline. Of course, quite a bit of the water holding capacity within the filter has been displaced. So if you halve the 600 litres an hour to 300 litres an hour, that would be about perfect. And I'm pretty sure that the pump on this pond moves 350 litres per hour, so pretty bloody close. Now with all that said, another thing about these filters is that they're really forgiving. You can move more water through them or less and still end up with fantastic results. Try not to get too bogged down in the finer points. I don't want to confuse you. Remember, two of the main goals is to provide home for nitrifying bacteria. That's the rocks and the pebbles, and allow solid materials to be removed. So while slowing the water will help that, so too do the roots of the plants inside the filter. Now let's talk about disguising the filter. I know I much prefer not seeing it. The filter in this pond is up in the top left-hand corner behind the tracheospernum. The easiest way to hide the filter is during the construction. Here I used a lot of the dirt from the pond to mound up a berm. The filter feeds a stream and returns the clean water to the pond. With the rocks and the plants, you wouldn't even know there's a big blue barrel back there. Even if I walk up behind the berm, it's not overly visible behind the rock retaining wall and the plants. And down there at the bottom is the clean out valve. We'll get back to him in a sec. The filter on this pond was a late addition after the water went green. Because I wanted to keep the ornamental urn, I couldn't bury the filter as deep as I would have otherwise liked. But now that the bacopa and succulents have grown, it's barely noticeable. Thanks for sticking around this far. Hopefully I'm not boring you. The last thing I want to talk about is the cleaning. Because of the valve we added, this is really easy and doesn't take long at all. First we connect a hose to the clean out pipe and run it into a lower point in the garden. Keep the pump running and move the water all over the surface of the filter. Now that the water is being directed down, any muck that has made its way to the middle of the filter is being driven down to where the larger voids are. With the clean out valve open, all that muck is free to flow out and fertilise the garden. Well, that's about it for this video. If it's helped you out, please give it a thumbs up and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.